Hello ladies and gents, and welcome to No Drama Just Movies Rapid Reviews. It's June already, I know, but that means the release of Avengers Doomsday is only 6 months away. And we thought we should honour the man who basically made the MCU what it is today, and who will be returning as Doctor Doom in December. The man who recently won a much-deserved Oscar. So from now until the release of Doomsday, we're going to be looking at some of the Robert Downey Jr. movies we love. I wanted to start with a movie that not only introduced me to the man himself, but also to a legendary actor and director of the silent movie era. So, I watched Chaplin from 1992 recently, and I had some thoughts. Right off the bat, starting with the silhouette of Chaplin was a beautiful touch. There are very few silhouettes people could recognize right away, which only shows the endurance of Chaplin's tramp character. This is then followed by the symbolic stripping away of that character, promising a look behind the man in the bowler hat. I love the framing of this. An older Chaplin sitting down with his editor to discuss his autobiography. I particularly like that it feels more like an interrogation, with George, the editor, pressing Charlie to clarify, to reveal the dirt as well as the triumphs. This biopic doesn't shy away from the dark moments in Chaplin's life, and I respect it for that. In fact, it goes through a lot of them. Dealing with his mother's mental health issues and Chaplin forced to have her committed, and even tackles his problematic relationships with younger women. Without excusing it, the movie offers an explanation that gives a tragic insight into Chaplin's life, as he's constantly chasing in every new partner the woman he lost. We can see it in the scene with Chaplin and Mildred, and Chaplin's line about needing some rouge, which was a great way to show this. I loved how everything connects. This isn't just a movie that shows us parts of Chaplin's life for the sake of it. We see the causality. His poor upbringing inspiring the creation of the tramp, but also his outspoken support of the working class. That outspoken support and his mockery in front of J. Edgar Hoover, getting him in trouble with the FBI later. His pursuit of younger women as a replacement for Hetty, leading to a string of controversial relationships. We can see where everything comes from, which gives us a much clearer picture of who Chaplin was, rather than just ticking off the famous moments. Charlie finding the tramp was a beautiful scene. First the magic of the costume calling to him, then the truth, showing the deliberate steps that led to the creation of one of cinema's most recognizable and enduring characters. Robert Downey Jr. is fantastic in the role, and you can see it in that little grin he has once the bowler hat comes on. It's Chaplin. I loved his mannerisms and physicality. The walk, that little bread dance while J. Edgar Hoover has a speech about keeping all the huddled masses out of America. I liked some of the moments where the real-world stuff is shot like a silent movie. For example, after Charlie and the gang steal the reels of the kid before Mildred can seize them. Getting Charlie into the building, then the chase with the police. It's a funny homage to the staples of silent-era cinema, full of slapstick moments. The train scene is my favourite scene of the movie. When Charlie finds out that Hetty has died, it's not just the fact that as soon as Connor finishes that sentence, we hear a shrill whistle as the train goes into a tunnel, mirroring Charlie's shock and plunge into darkness. It's also Chaplin's reaction. He barely has time to process the news and grieve, almost immediately has to entertain the people again. And Robert Downey Jr. plays it wonderfully. His reactions, the looks conveying so much without words, the switch from sadness to smiling at the waiting crowd. I thought casting the same actress as Hetty and as Charlie's last wife Una was genius. Not only does it fit the idea that he was always looking for Hetty in the women he dated and married, but it also rounds out his romantic journey with a satisfying ending. With Una apparently resembling Hetty in real life, it's like Chaplin finally found the love he was looking for, and he stayed with her for the rest of his life. That whole Oscar sequence was beautifully emotional. The comedy when they show Chaplin's films at the ceremony, mixed with the overwhelming triumph of this man who was thrown out of a country he loved and that made him, now returning a celebrated hero. If I had one tiny complaint, I would have loved to see just a few more seconds of the awards ceremony. In real life, Charlie got a 12-minute standing ovation, which in itself was very heartwarming. I'll put a link in the description if you want to see his reaction, but I think it would have made for a much more triumphant moment. Overall, this was a great and rounded portrait of Charlie Chaplin, and the way I think a biopic should be done. Not leaving any of the negative out and actually giving us an insight into what made the person tick. We learned the motivation behind his actions on and off camera, why he made certain films, why he dated certain women, and all of it carried exceptionally well by Robert Downey Jr. Personally, I will always be grateful to this movie for introducing me not only to Robert Downey Jr., but also to Chaplin and his beautiful movies. And that's all. Roll credits.